Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Thunder Sports Pod with JT and
The Stash, baby, bringing you some more content in December. It's Christmas and holiday time for the family.
indeed it is getting ready, kicking off for Christmas. We got by Thanksgiving. Hope everybody's had the good holiday spirit flowing in their veins. And we will kick off the episode talking about NFL quarterbacks and just the injuries that's been occurring across the league. It's been at a league high percentage of we're seeing a lot of backups this year. A lot of injuries. Trevor Lawrence just got hurt this past Sunday, and it's just been abysmal for every single team. It seems like your quarterback has been going down at least once, and hopefully no more injuries will occur. But what are your thoughts towards this?
Me personally, we've had 18.75% of starting QBs be out for the season so far
Mm,
this year. We've also had big injuries to Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy G, Fields, Carr had a concussion, Stafford had a thumb injury, Pickett's hurt now, Jalen Hurts is also hurt, and Purdy's
mm.
had a concussion. On top of that, like QBs are getting hurt at an all-time high. Like I have not seen injuries at the QB level be this dramatic and this like I've never seen this before. Not this many in one season.
Mm. Yeah, it's crazy if you think about it because like you were mentioning earlier before the podcast started about how Deshaun Watson is down, Kenny Pickett is down, Joe Burrow is down. Lamar Jackson's the only quarterback in his division that's healthy currently, and that's pretty crazy.
That blows my mind because usually he's the one that's hurt. And
Yeah,
this year he's balling out, playing great, and he's the only one that's healthy.
exactly. Kirk Cousins, Anthony Richardson, Aaron Rodgers, the list goes on and on and on. So it's very unfortunate for the league. I feel like the quarterback position itself this year has been hurt more than the last decade. For me personally, I feel like it's at a all-time high. And hopefully we do not see any more quarterbacks get hurt because when teams are at their best, their quarterbacks, QB1s are on the field. So,
I'm very glad Trevor Lawrence's injury was just a high ankle sprain and wasn't anything
yeah.
worse. That was I was worried that I'm like, is that another one that's going to be out? But
He'll probably be out. Yeah, they said it was a high ankle sprain, so it'll probably be at least 1 week, maybe two, possibly. We'll see how far he can progress and rehab really quickly with that. Hopefully, he'll be on the field very soon. In a competitive AFC South with the Jags, the Indianapolis Colts they're on a little streak winning here. They're looking good. And then you've got the Houston Texans led by young rookie CJ Stroud. All three of those competing still for their division lead. So it's going to be interesting down the stretch.
absolutely, Gardner Minshew being the starting QB for the Colts and them playing at this level, I'm very impressed with them. Like I would
Let's
like
go.
to see what would have happened if Anthony Richardson had been stayed healthy all year.
Exactly. But let's go ahead and talk about it. Michael Pittman Jr. for the Colts. Very underrated, if not the most underrated in the league at the position. So he is he's a very productive receiver, and he's only going to blossom as he continues to grow in the league. But are you ready for the transition? Are you ready for this conversation, everybody? Who is better, the Miami 2001 team versus Joe Burrow squad of LSU in 2019? Who do you think would win in that matchup and why?
All right, so I like this. I like this conversation right here. 2001 Miami Hurricane squad versus Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers. So I'm gonna give you a
2000,
little.
2001. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a couple things about the 2001 Miami Hurricanes. They had 11 players drafted in the first round the following year. 11 in 32
That's
picks. If
unheard of.
that tells you anything. Not only that, one of their best players, or one of their players, linebacker Chris Campbell, who would have could have what there's a really good chance would have been the 12th man drafted in the first round.
Mm,
Died a month after the Rose Bowl in a tragic car accident.
mm,
But I've got some names of people on here I would like to mention to you, and you can just tell me some people that you may
mm.
know. Ed Reed,
Yep.
Sean Taylor, Andre Johnson,
Mm.
Frank Gore,
Oh man.
Jeremy Shockey, Kellen Winslow Jr., Rashad Butler, Jamal Green,
Mm. Mm,
I
that's
mean,
crazy.
and like that team that went into the league also had combined 13 Pro Bowlers.
That's insane. So when it comes down to it, when it boils down, who were you taking? Who do you think would win that matchup?
I'm taking. I have to take Miami on this because of
Mm,
the defensive presence that they had. I mean, they beat Penn State that year 33-7. They beat Virginia Tech, who was ranked 14th in the country, also on top of that. They went undefeated, won most games by 3 touchdowns. They also their coach was a first time head coach that year.
mm, wow.
They balled out. They played amazing. They held their opponents for the year to 270 total yards a game.
That's crazy.
They averaged 4.1 turnovers per game.
Mm.
Ed Reed had 9 picks by himself. They finished the year with 27 total picks.
Sean Taylor and Ed Reed in the safety in the back. Oh my gosh. Just that's that just saying those two together itself, that's a scary sight for offenses.
They only gave up 13 touchdowns on the entire year.
Wow. That's incredible.
And the defense scored 8 touchdowns, if that tells you anything. Like they were just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's bewildering to me of how dominant that defense was. I mean, with those names though, it's not very shocking because they were so just dominant, like we mentioned. If I have to pick one team, that's really tough. That's a good debate. I will mention this. I feel like LSU's offense is the best of all time, very historic. But when it comes down to it, I'm gonna have to agree with you, Stash. I'm gonna take the 0-1 Miami Hurricanes in this one, purely because I believe their offense and defense they're more well balanced than LSU. LSU doesn't have as good defense as that 0-1 Miami Hurricanes, not even close. So I think I would take Miami in this one because their defense is a lot better than LSU's, and their offense, well, it might not be as good as LSU's, but it's still a very solid one with Andre Johnson and Frank Gore, so they could still put up a good amount of points. But LSU's defense, they would be getting they would be getting it. I don't think they'd be holding up versus Miami.
Oh no, it'd be a really good matchup.
It
Just to
really
see,
would.
just to see the defense Miami's defense versus LSU's offense for.
Oh, for sure. That would be the that
Woo!
would that would be the premier matchup for sure. I think imagine Jay Jettis and Jamar Chase going down the field, Sean Taylor and Ed Reed covering. Oh,
If anybody can lock them down, though, I mean them. They were.
yeah.
Woo!
I don't think it'd be a blowout. I think it'd be a really close game, but I gotta give the edge to the Hurricanes in this one.
I like
So
it. I think this would be a good matchup. I want if you guys want to see any more QB or team comparisons any year, just let us know. We'll do a
oh yeah,
comparison and look up some information and
for
see
sure.
what we
Let us
like.
let us know down below. We'll definitely look into it for you guys. But we'll move on to the next topic here. Who is the best team in the AFC and NFC currently?
So my take on this, we'll give our AFCs and then we'll do our NFCs.
Yeah.
So for me right now, I have the Baltimore Ravens as my
Mm,
number one in the AFC. Their defense has played great. They had a huge amount of injuries to start the year, but it looks like they're finally healthy and they're just running over teams. They've run over
yeah.
some really good teams this year. I think Seattle's an underrated team. They blew them out. Detroit's looked great all year. They blew Detroit out. Both times, very shocking scores to me. I did not expect it from, but they did. Baltimore has been absolutely incredible. Lamar is staying healthy, looking good, and we're
Yep.
seeing glimpses of Prime Odell up there. So I'm gonna go
Yeah.
with the Ravens in the AFC. I just think they look better, and the Miami's offense looks really good, but their defense isn't nearly as good. And when they played the Bills, they lost by like 15. So I'm gonna have to go with the Ravens on this.
That's a good pick. What about for the NFC? Who do you say?
NFC, I'm going with the team that I said in the beginning of the year. A team I think is going to win the Super Bowl. The San Francisco 49ers are the best team in the league, but
Mm,
definitely the NFC. I think
talk about it. Yes, sir.
I think Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle is just an unfair matchup. Brock Purdy is playing. amazing too. I know a lot of people saying he's a system QB. You could throw anyone in there, and they can do what he can. That's great. And I mean, but that's what they need. He fits the role. He does his job. That's what he's there to do. He plays great. Like he's leading the league in a lot of like categories and completion and everything too.
Mhm. They really are. That's two very, very talented teams. They're producing at a high level right now. So everybody, me and Stash usually disagree with our topics, but so far today we've been in agreement with everything. So for the AFC, I'm also picking the Baltimore Ravens because if you guys really think about it, the teams that are usually in the postseason making noise, Kansas City Chiefs, they don't look like the same team they did a year ago. They're a shell of their former self. The Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, he's been way turnover prone way too often. So I do not feel like they're going to make a deep playoff push at all. The Cincinnati Bengals, without Joe Burrow, they could even miss the playoffs. So currently, I do believe in the Baltimore Ravens. They have the best defense in the league, led by Lamar Jackson. The only thing though that could possibly slow them up towards the end of the year and in the playoffs is the loss of Mark Andrews. That's going to be huge for that team. So I think if teams can bracket Odell and Zay Flowers down the field and force them to run the ball, and if they stop the run, that's the key to stopping the Baltimore offense. If you stop the run and bracket those guys down the field, especially Zay Flowers, it's going to be a very, very tough day for that Baltimore offense. However, they've got a really good running game. J.K. Dobbins going down, I thought was gonna kill them. I thought they was gonna put them in a tombstone and wrap them up. But the emergence of Gus Edwards has really surprised me. He's been scoring a lot, and he's a big part of that Baltimore offense. But Lamar Jackson has been Mr. Consistent for them this year, and I'll say this. I mean, he was my MVP prediction before the season, and maybe he's going to prove me right. Hopefully, we'll see. But I've got the Baltimore Ravens. I agree with you.
I like it. No, they've been just playing great against really good teams, in my opinion.
Mhm. Yeah, and then for the NFC pick, so I picked Dallas Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not wavering from my pick. I think they will make the Super Bowl, possibly. They're going to have to get through Philly and San Fran, but currently, I'm in agreement again with you. I believe the San Francisco 49ers are the best team in the league, definitely the best team in the NFC, and they proved it versus the Eagles this past Sunday. It's going to be a tall task for anybody to beat them. I mean, when fully healthy, we just saw what they can do. So with Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, CMC, and George Kittle, that's a scary offense. And their defense with the addition of Chase Young off the edge, I mean, what can they not do? So at the end of the day, it's going to really take a high-powered offense to beat this team. And the Minnesota Vikings already did it once, so we'll see. But they were without Debo and Trent Williams that game, so I feel like they're functioning at all cylinders right now, and the Niners are going to be one tough team to beat. Brock Purdy has been looking like he should be deserving of MVP talk, and rightfully so. He's been putting up great numbers. Um, but right now, currently, NFC wise, the 49ers should be the team to beat, in my opinion.
They've just looked absolutely incredible all year.
Hmm.
Like they did have a little stretch where they were like kind of banged up, and but they got healthy right back and are coming straight back for it.
Exactly. All right, everybody. We're going to move on ahead to our next segment of the day. So, we're going to move into MVP talk for the NFL. Who are your top three players do you think is worthy of the MVP discussion? I'll go ahead and start this one off, Stash. So, my MVP discussion, I've got three guys that I believe most people should believe in, not for sure where they place them in order, but I've got these three guys. Firstly, I've got Dak Prescott. In the last 6 games of the season, he has 20 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. That is an insane ratio. He has been leading to this Dallas Cowboys success, something a year ago you could not really say. And the running game for Dallas has not really been there. Tony Pollard has been mediocre at best. They're not really forcing him the ball like they did a year ago. But I do see them giving him the rock a little bit more down the stretch, especially come playoff time when teams try to bracket CD and double them down the field because CD Lamb, the surgeons of CD Lamb has really helped out Dak Prescott. He is a top 5 receiver now in my eyes. So Dak Prescott should be considered in MVP talks. He's my number one. Number two, I've got Tua Tagovailoa. I believe that Miami offense has been extremely, extremely explosive this year, and he is one of the main reasons to thank for this offense putting up those much numbers. I think Tyreek Hill is the main contributor for that, and Jalen Waddle. He's not really been talked about a lot, but he is a great number two option in that Miami offense, and the speed demons with Devon Achane and those boys, the rest of them guys, I mean, they know they can flat out ball, so they're helping Tua out 100%. And my number three may shock a lot of people. However, you can make a case for this man, Brock Purdy. He's my third MVP guy, and I was thinking about putting dangerous Russell Wilson up there, but he had a three-pick game last week. I think his momentum of climbing into the MVP talk is kind of plateaued. Having a great year. I don't think he should be in the MVP talk, so I put Brock Purdy as my number three guy. Um, he's been just balling this year, and a lot of people, Stash, were telling me especially that Brock Purdy, he's not going to be nothing the next year. Teams are going to have tape on him. He's going to be a career backup, or he's not going to be able to prove himself in year two under this system. I beg to differ because he has been balling this year consistently. Besides that one or two game stretch where he looked pretty bad, after that, he's been putting up great numbers and he's been winning, most importantly. So those are my three guys. Let me know down below what you guys think about it. But let's hear your guys' stash.
I'm gonna start off. So this is who I think, in the order, I think has the best shot at winning MVP.
Mm.
My number one is Tyreek Hill.
Ooh, okay.
Tyreek Hill. Tyreek
I
Hill is
like
on
it.
pace to have 2,000 yards receiving. It is hard not to give the man his props, give him his flowers. Like, if he can do this, why not?
Hmm.
So that's my number one. I think he deserves. If he hits 2,000 yards, he deserves it. You give it to him.
Oh yeah.
They have a winning record. They look good. Tua is good. Don't get me wrong, but Tyreek is accomplishing something insane.
Hmm.
My number two, Dak Prescott. As you talked about, Dak has absolutely played out of the mind. I think Dak,
Hmm.
like, my biggest argument with Dak Prescott was the interceptions, and he has
Yeah.
kept them at such a low level this year. I'm thoroughly impressed. I think the Cowboys have a really good shot at winning the division, if I'm being real.
Oh yeah.
Number three, the guy that I picked to win the MVP this season, and I still hope he does, because I think he has been an absolute amazing player, and his stats should speak for themselves. Christian McCaffrey.
Mm.
I picked
Okay.
him. I
I
picked
like
him at
it.
the beginning
I
of the
like
year.
it.
I'm like, hey, I want to give a running back. He's got to prove a point, so running backs can get paid.
Yeah.
Then I'm taking his teammate Brock Purdy up next.
Okay. Okay.
Purdy's absolutely great.
Yes.
And I had one more at five, and I'm
Mm.
actually throwing Lamar in there because of just how well they've been playing. So I'm throwing Lamar in there too.
Yeah.
But those are my front runners for MVP and who I think should be there. Hurts is not hurt. If you're throwing Hurts in the conversation for MVP, you might as well throw Jordan Love in the conversation for MVP or Josh Allen.
Oh yes. Diving on this rabbit hole, but I agree with your decisions on those guys. I feel like Brock Purdy should definitely be up there. Um, Tyreek Hill, 100%. If he breaks 2,000 and especially breaks Megatron's record, you've got to give it to him. That's unheard of. That'd be like the first non-quarterback to get it since Adrian Peterson in 2012. So that would be a huge, huge time for Tyreek Hill. I like CMC. I like CMC. I like that pick a lot. I believe he had like 16 straight games where he scored a touchdown, and then after he didn't, the game after he's like, after the game he's like, I suck.
I'm
But
I picked Christian McCaffrey at the beginning of the season because he was just absolutely beast mode since he got to San Fran last year.
mm,
I like it. I think he plays very
yeah,
well. I think he fits that offense greatly, and
he does.
he just is an outstanding player. So I would be grateful if the Niners win the Super Bowl and Christian McCaffrey wins MVP. I was the best picker this year. Out of
Thank you,
anyone. Haha.
thank you, Carolina Panthers, for not wasting that man's career and trading him to the San Francisco 49ers.
He's a workhorse back there.
Yep. I really do like that Lamar pick. I think he's kind of plateaued the last couple of weeks a little bit. Um, but he's still producing at a high level. So if he continues to have the rest of the 5 games this year, if he has at least 2 or 3 touchdowns a game, he could easily be at the top of the MVP talk again. Which I picked him preseason to win the MVP, so I hope he does that. But we'll have to wait and see. So, but we're gonna go ahead and move on to some NFC South and NFC North talk. I'll let you go on the NFC South first. What are your thoughts in regards towards that?
On my NFC South thoughts. All right, so Tampa plays Atlanta this week. I know that's going to be that game is going to determine the division. Let's
Mm,
all be real, because if Tampa loses, they're 2 games behind with very few games left in the year. They have to win here. This is a big win.
yeah.
So right now, I'm looking at it. Carolina's been eliminated from the playoffs. They have no chance. They are absolutely 100% out of the playoffs. The Falcons have a 63% chance to win to go to the playoffs, a 61% chance to win the division. And they got
Mm,
like a 1% after that. The Bucks have a 27% chance to win to go to the playoffs, a 22% chance to win the division, and the Saints have a 22% chance to go to the playoffs and a 17% chance
mm.
to go to win the division. But like looking at it, like I mean, it's very, very, very close race. The division hasn't been the best this year. They haven't looked the greatest. So yeah, they haven't been the best. But it's still really anyone's division. That's the thing about it.
Exactly.
Any one of those 3 teams could be in the playoffs at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's the truth. It's still up for debate for who's going to win that division, and it could very well come down to the last week or two of the season to determine that. Who do you think will win the division
I'm hoping
in
the
your
Bucks.
eyes?
I'm hoping the Bucks. I think we have a shot. I think we're a better team than we were when we played Atlanta the first time. I'm hoping that we can push through and get this win. Just win by 4 points. That's all you have to do. Cover 4 points. Because then we
In
make.
my opinion, yeah, that's true. And in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be Atlanta. I think they're going to shrivel up. It's going to be between y'all and New Orleans, if I had to say. Derek Carr doesn't look very good, but I will say this. Alvin Kamara, when he's healthy, he's a scary back, and you got to account for him at all times. And that defense is underrated. It is pretty solid. So I will say they've been getting lit up the last few weeks, but when they settle in, they're pretty good defense. But I like what you were saying about that.
NFC North talk.
Oh yeah. So, if we take a look at it, the Detroit Lions have a 3 game lead over the Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. I'm not worried about the Chicago Bears because they're 4-8 and they're just making a whole lot of mess of mediocrity, and they'll probably finish with about 5 or 6 wins. So, talking back to the guys that actually matter, the boys who can make some noise in the playoffs. The Detroit Lions are going to probably win the division this year. I'm going to go and say it. With a 3 game lead, that's pretty good with only 5 games left. Uh, and Jared Goff has been surprising me this year of how well he's been playing. He is a very, very good quarterback. And the offensive guys they've got around him, with rookie tight end Sam Laporta, by the way, before the season even started, I was telling people this guy was going to be a great player because Iowa, they only produce solid tight ends. And they've got Amon St. Brown. They finally start using their rookie Jameer Gibbs. And then David Montgomery also. They've got some good guys up there in Detroit on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, last year they were a liability. If we're being real, they were a liability in the secondary, especially with the addition of Aiden Hutchinson. He has been a huge star on the edge for that D line in Detroit, with several other role players. It has definitely helped that team, and I believe they're truly rallying behind Dan Campbell. He's up for Coach of the Year, very deserving. But
Very
next,
deserving. Yes.
very deserving, and Detroit can end up with a top 3 seed easy, and they'll probably be number 2 or 3. Um, we'll go ahead and talk with the next team down from them, the Minnesota Vikings, my team. They are in prime position to control their destiny. They have a pretty tough schedule down the line. They've got next week, they have Raiders, then Bengals, Detroit twice. They've got a divisional rival twice. They've got Green Bay in between that. So if they can win at least 3 out of 5, hopefully 4 out of 5, they're putting themselves in prime position for that. But going back to Detroit real quick, you can hear their schedule. They've got Bears,
Win.
Broncos,
Maybe a win.
Vikings, Cowboys,
Ooh.
and Vikings again.
Playing the Vikings twice.
Yeah,
Playing the Cowboys.
Bears.
Cowboys are tough. Cowboys look
Yeah.
good this year, so that's a tough game.
I think they'll win at least 3 games. I could say probably 4. They're probably gonna win 4 out of 5.
I don't know about the Cowboys game. The Cowboys game, like you'll have Dak and CD against the
Yeah,
DBs for the Lions is not a good matchup.
I'm gonna say they lose to Dallas, and we beat them 1 out of 2 times.
You beat them at
So
home or on the road?
I think we'll beat them on the road. We've not been very good at home this year. If I'm being
Okay.
real, we've been pretty bad at home. So I think we beat them on the road, and they beat us at our place.
Okay.
But going to Green Bay, this is the most interesting team in the NFC North now. Their remaining schedule, percentage-wise, is the easiest left in the entire NFL. They've got Giants, Bucks,
Hey,
Panthers, Vikings, and Bears.
they're actually
So
they're favored to win all those games too.
exactly, they'll beat the Giants. They might beat Tampa. That's up for debate. So that's 2. They'll beat the Panthers. That's 3. I don't think they'll beat us, but you never know. It's at Minnesota. It's a primetime game, so they very well might. Let's say it's an L just in case. And then the last game of the year is the Chicago Bears. That's 4 wins. So that's 4 out of 5, being generous.
So you're looking at like 10-win season.
Yep. Minnesota's gonna have to win at least 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5 if they want a 100% lock. And they do have the head-to-head over Green Bay currently because they beat them in the beginning of the season. Um, but that very well could, hurt them if they do lose to Green Bay at the end of the year for playoff seeding. And right now, currently, Minnesota's the 6th seed and Green Bay is the 7th seed. So we might see 3 teams from the NFC North in the playoffs.
Oh, definitely. No, there's a good possibility of that. I mean, we'll have to see.
But just
Like,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
the team. Rams are looking scary. The Rams
yeah,
are getting to a point where they're looking like a good team again. I just want to throw that out there. That's
for
another
sure.
team to
And
look out
even
for a wild
Seattle
card.
too. Seattle looks pretty good as
Seattle
well.
doesn't look bad. Like a lot of
Yeah,
people are like they've lost to the Cowboys, which was big. I mean, it was a close game though. Like you're playing the
yeah,
Cowboys, who everyone thinks is good right now, and you almost beat them on Thursday.
exactly.
So
What do you think about the Bears situation? Do you think they should move on from Justin Fields
no,
or
I
keep him?
don't. If you think that the Bears should move on from Justin Fields, you're wrong. He's got the talent. He's got everything he needs. Work on the O line, but the first draft pick in the first draft, you take Marvin Harrison Jr. overall.
Yeah,
You take him number one
yeah,
overall. You give him and DJ Moore. There you go. Then get the O line. Get the O line fixed, and then
exactly.
start working the defense.
We
It's
were
not that
talking
hard.
about this. We were talking about this earlier today. A lot of people are too quick to pull the trigger on these quarterbacks. I feel like more times than not, they don't pan out in the NFL. I mean, a lot of people hype up these guys, and they do not even pan out to the level that they're comparing them to be. Caleb Williams, I'm sure, will be a solid NFL player, but they're saying he's the second coming of Patrick Mahomes, and that is high expectations, very lofty. Um, so we'll wait and see what happens to Caleb Williams if he decides to come back to USC for one final season, or if he declares for the NFL draft. Nonetheless, the Bears should go receiver. They've got to help out Justin Fields and even address the O line. I believe whenever they do that, they'll be sitting fine.
I agree.
But
I'm in a complete agreement with it. Go Marvin Harrison on this. I'm telling you.
what would you? All right. So hypothetically speaking, if the Vikings end up with the 6th seed and Detroit ends up with the 3 seed, which that currently is the playoff picture, they'd be playing each other in the first round. How would you see that going?
Passer not playing.
Yeah,
Your defense has improved heavily since the beginning of the year, which was
that is
which
true.
was what your weakest point. But your offense was looking great. Kirk Cousins went down. Jay Jetta should be back. You give Jay
Yeah,
Jetta and Addison a chance. You guys have potential, especially with their secondary. But you got to contain. You got to stop the run. That like if you can stop their run, you can beat them.
Hmm.
So you have to stop Montgomery and Gibbs,
For sure.
which is not easy to do, but that's what you got to do.
Not at all.
I think you have a shot at it. I think if you make the playoffs, you have a shot.
I agree. It's gonna come down to the wire. I feel like that Sunday night football game against Green Bay, that'll be huge. That'll be huge. Um, we'll have to wait and see. But everybody, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our last segment of the day, college football talk. These three guys are going to be at the top of their draft class. It's a very top-heavy running back room this year. I feel like with these three names, everybody else um, could be all right, but these three names are what stand out the most to me. So we've got number one, we have Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State. Number two is Cody Schrazer from Missouri. And number three, we have Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. So let's talk about it. What are your thoughts on these guys?
I don't have any of those guys in my top three running backs in college.
Who is it?
I've got Lloyd out of USC. I've got Blake Corum out of Michigan,
Okay.
and I got Brooks out of Texas.
I only agree with one of those. I think Blake Corum should be up there. Um, Braylon Allen and him should be tied for third. So yeah, Blake Corum is a very solid running back. Not this season, but the previous season, he had the best. He had the best, statistically speaking, season he has ever had. So he probably should have declared last year. But he had a very, very solid and productive year this year.
I mean, man had 12 tutties.
He did.
He only had 546 yards on 96 carries.
You know how many touchdowns Ollie Gordon had though?
How many?
20.
Woo. I mean, that's fair.
So, all right, with your running back list, where would you rank them, 1 through 3?
I have Blake. I would probably say Brooks, Corum, Lloyd on mine.
You think Brooks is the best
I think
running
Brooks
back
will
in college
translate to the
football?
NFL the better.
Okay, that's respectable. Who do you
Texas
think
is
is the
known
best?
for some
Who do you
running
think
backs.
is the
You
best
know that.
college running? Huh?
I said, Texas is known for its running backs.
It is, but so you think they're going to translate to the league the best? Who do you think is the best college running back? Not necessarily like translating to the league. Do you think that's the correct order still?
Oh no, I mistook this assignment. Oh, I also have Notre Dame's running back on here.
Okay, word. Yeah.
He's pretty
But
good.
either way you look at it, yeah, both of those ways are valid. Yeah, I mean a lot of scouts look at not necessarily the best running back in college, but which back best can make the transition to the league. So that's a valid point.
Yeah, that's how I was going off of this. I'm like thinking about people like if I'm drafting for these guys, I'm like, who am I taking out of here? Like, who's going to transition the fastest? Who's going to come in and like do the work? So like that's
Mhm.
where I was looking at it. I want to see Blake Corum in the pros. I am excited to see that.
I like Blake Corum a lot. He's probably one of my favorite running backs in the entire country. Um, yeah, he's a stud. He's really good. I like him a lot. Um, he'll go pretty high in the draft in my opinion, but he's not my top three. He's right on the verge, but last year he would have been. um, so for my top three, I'll go ahead and spill it. So it's close at one. It's very close at one. If I had to pick, I'm gonna go ahead and pick number one, Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State. Um, I think he's easily the best college football running back currently. He's got 20 touchdowns on the year, 1,614 yards on 258 carries. A lot of carries. A lot of carries.
Man's a
Um,
workhorse.
very, very much. He's a ground and pound guy. But number two, I've got Cody Schrazer from Missouri. He had 247 carries for 1,489 yards and 13 touchdowns. And his average per carry was 6 yards, right under Ollie's. He had 6.3. So very productive backs in college. I think that Cody Schrazer, I think he's going to be more productive back in the NFL. I really do. Ollie, he reminds me a lot of Melvin Gordon, like essentially the same back. I think he's going to translate just like him to the league. He's going to have a great like 3 to 4 year career, and then after that, he's going to be mediocre at best. So I think Melvin Gordon could be a perfect comparison for Ollie, and for Shazer, Cody Schrazer. I've got this. I don't know if you're going to like this or not. You want to hear it?
What you got?
You want to hear what his comp is?
What?
Cody Schrazer reminds me a lot of Christian McCaffrey. I'm comparing him to Christian McCaffrey.
Really?
So I think he is the best translating to the league back in this entire class. He catches the ball out of the backfield the best hands in the class, runs between the tackles extremely well and hard. He never falls back. He always falls forward, and I believe if utilized correctly, it could be a 2.0 back of CMC. Not saying he'll be as good as Christian McCaffrey, but he reminds me a lot of CMC in his game. So Cody from Missouri, he is one of my favorites in this year's class. And number 3, Braylon Allen. This guy probably runs the hardest out of the 3. If I'm being real, his numbers aren't the best. 984 yards on 12 touchdowns. Still very productive, don't get me wrong. But compared to the other 2 guys, not as much. But you know who this guy reminds me a lot of?
Who?
If I had to really think about it, Ezekiel Elliott in his prime. He runs with such force, not the fastest guy, not the twitchiest, but he has so much mass running at you full speed. It's going to be a lot to take him down. So Ezekiel Elliott in his prime, I believe Braylon Allen can be that type of back. So I like Braylon Allen a lot, but those are my 3 favorite backs from this year's class, and I think they'll be the 3 most productive, translating to the league as well. And let me know down below what you guys think about it, though.
Oh, JT, you forgot.
Oh yeah.
We got trivia tonight.
Ooh, okay, okay. Let's hear it. Let's talk
I
about it.
got you a little Minnesota Viking trivia.
Yes, sir.
Can you name me the top 5 most sold Viking jerseys?
Ooh, okay. I like it. I like it. I think I can.
Okay, all
Ever
right.
of all time?
Huh?
Top 5 most ever.
Top 5 most ever sold.
Randy Moss.
Number 1.
Yes, sir. Let me see. Jay Jettas.
No,
No, not on there. Okay.
not yet.
Let me see. Brett Favre.
Brett Favre is number 5.
Okay. Hmm. Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson is number 2.
Hmm. I got 1, 2, and 5. I need 3 and 4. This is a hot take. I don't think he's gonna be on there. Jared Allen.
Jared Allen is not on the
No,
list.
I was a wild card. Um, Let me throw out Chris Carter.
Chris Carter is number 4. You're missing
Ooh.
number 3.
Dante Culpepper.
No, I like that answer. Personally, I would prefer a jersey from him than this guy. Me personally.
Oh, I know who it is. Is it the man who I think it is? Fran Tarkington?
It is number 3. You swept. You didn't sweep it, but you got all 5.
Yes, sir. That's pretty good. I know my Vikings love. They love me some. They love him some. Fran the man Tarkington back in the day.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
And
he was like the first mobile quarterback, really, if you think about it.
yeah, he definitely was. I see his rushing stats. I'm impressed with it.
Have you ever seen the clip of him scoring a rushing touchdown and he threw the ball at the back of the defender's head and they got into a huge fight?
I have actually. I actually have seen that. Oh, and Heisman candidates, guys. It has been announced the finalists for the Heisman are is
Mm,
Daniels from LSU, Michael
yep.
Penix Jr. from Washington, Bo Nix from Oregon, and Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. I'm super excited for this. I think all four men are definitely deserving of this. My personal, my personal, who I want to win, I think it's Marvin Harrison. Who I think is
Mm,
going to win, Michael Penix Jr. I think he really deserves it after that
okay.
second win against Iowa. Or not Iowa, my bad. Oregon was absolutely
Yeah,
incredible.
for sure. Michael Penix Jr., I don't know if you've known this or not. He's been around since 2018. This is his 6th year of college ball.
Isn't it Bo Nix's
um,
also?
Bo Nix, I believe, has 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So he's been around a longer time as well. But I think if I had to pick one that I hope would win, I would go with Michael Penix Jr. I would like to see him win. Good feel good story, transferring from Iowa. So many injuries in his career. And then transferring to Washington and living up to the hype. But I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels. That's my pick. He's had a great year at LSU. 50 total touchdowns on the year.
That's
I mean,
impressive.
that's going to be hard.
That's
That's going to be hard
really
not to give
that's
it to
really
him.
hard to pass. I mean,
And
he had absolute great stats. The only thing you can really look at with him personally is his team's record. You have to take
yeah.
that into consideration with it, I guess.
hmm
Marvin Harrison was 11-1. Washington's 13-0 at the moment.
mm Which, yeah, granted, I don't think that should play a whole lot into it. If his team won like 6 games, I could see the reasoning behind it. But 9-3 is a really good record, so
It
I
is.
don't think they'll not give it to him just because of that. And it's not like the gap was like extremely far between Jan Daniels and the rest of the guys. I mean, it was pretty close for most of the season up until like week 9, 10. The last couple of weeks of the season, Jaden really pulled away. But what would your ranking be of where you think it's going to like play through 1 through 4 if you had to rank the guys of how it's going to finish?
Me personally, like I said, I think it's Michael Penix Jr. is going to win the Heisman. That's who I
Yeah,
think is going to after that win. But so I'm going to have to stick with him as my Heisman winner.
yeah.
I'm going with Daniels at number 2, Bo Nix 3,
hmm
Marvin Harrison 4. I feel like they
Ooh,
they never planned on giving it to Marvin Harrison. I think it'll be more of just like a, hey, we're going to invite you up because you played really good, but you don't really have a shot at winning this. I
yeah,
would
yeah,
love if he did. Personally, like I said, he's the one I want to win it, but I think it's going to be Michael Penix at the end of the day.
yeah. I could see that. That's very valid. Mine's gonna be a little bit different. I've got number one in Jaden Daniels. Like I've said the past few weeks, I believe he's gonna win the Heisman. Number two, Michael Penix Jr. I believe the win over Oregon twice will give him the edge over Bo Nix. Both have been having great seasons. Number three, I've got Bo Nix. Um, he had a really good season as well. I believe it's not better than Penix Jr.'s though. And fourth, but not, we give him the fourth slot. Marvin Harrison Jr. Not to discredit him, but he had a great year, and it's just hard. It's really hard to win the Heisman as a receiver compared to those other guys at quarterback who have been balling out all year. And I think he could be, you know, all higher than the rest of his guys in the Heisman race come draft day. So I think he'll be drafted higher than anybody else on this list.
Besides Daniels, I mean, we're pretty much the same. Like Michael Penix Jr. and Daniels swapped them, and we're the same list. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's gonna be real close, but we'll see how it goes. Has Daniels declared for the draft yet?
I don't think he has 100%, but I'm pretty sure. Well, he's got to. He's a senior, so
Okay, okay.
he's going. He's going to.
I couldn't remember what grade he was in.
Yeah. But it'll be very interesting to see those guys and see where they fall for the Heisman whenever it comes up. But well, everybody, thank you guys for tuning in. It has been a pleasure, and hope you guys tune in to our next episode. If you haven't already, sub to the channel, leave a like and a comment, and check out our TikTok channel. Same handle, Thunder Sports Pod. It's doing pretty well, but show some love over there as well. Appreciate you guys. It's been JT and
Stash, we out. Happy holidays.